as soon as I saw it was Lauren, I was like, I'm sure he is calling me to say, our show got picked up, but we're recasting you. And I waited a while to call back because I just didn't want to hear that. And finally called him back, and he said,
how long did you wait?
Like 40 minutes, not that long.
So 40 minutes is about how much it takes you to psychically gird yourself to being fired.
Yeah, I guess that's right. And then I called him back, and he said, I want to talk to you about casting. So, it is. I am getting recast. We're changing your character to a girl. And then he said, no, we're not getting another person. We're changing the character girl. And I said, I can't do a girl's voice. I can't do any voices except my own voice. And then he said, that's fine. And it's like, well, I was just thinking that's going to sound terrible, but if you want to do that, fine, it's your show. But then he sent me a sample, and I was like, wow, this actually makes sense.
Dan Mintz is a Harvard graduate, a successful writer, and a father. On this episode, learn about how he became most famous for being a teenage girl. I'm David Taylor, and this is Until I Lose Interest. Dan Mintz.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing this, because I know you're very busy with your big career in.
Well,
what do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah. How do you make money?
Well, right now, mainly through voiceover. I guess I would. I mean, I think of myself as a comedian, but I really have not made very much money from doing stand-up in my life.
You know what? Looking at stand-up, the problem is nobody's a stand-up if you're going to view it on the prism of how much money they've made.
Right.
Because unsuccessful people don't make money out of it, and successful people always make a lot more money out of other things.
Yeah, I mean, I've made very little money out of stand-up.
Yes.
But,
and now you're a voice on
Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers, which I think I've seen one episode of.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good episode. It was a good episode.
Thanks.
People seem to like it. And you are the voice of
Tina,
who is a
13-year. She's the 13-year-old daughter of the family.
Okay.
And the family owns a burger place.
That much I did grasp. Now, how did that come about?
It was actually just incredibly easy after working really hard for a lot of things that didn't happen. And then I was friends with John Benjamin, who plays the dad, Bob, on the show. And Lauren was doing a pilot presentation, and John recommended me to Lauren. Lauren Bouchard is the creator of Bob's Burgers. And John recommended me to him, and I was like, oh great, I get an easy $700 or whatever after minimum was for going in and recording, and I thought I'd never hear from it again, and then it got on the air. And
when you recorded it, was it a man?
Yes. Originally I played the 13-year-old son, I think he's 13, Daniel, of the family, and at some point during the development, Fox thought that he was too similar to Eugene Mirman's character, which I don't really see that, but they decided to change to a girl. And I remember I got a call from Lauren. I got a message to call him back, and I remember thinking like, okay, I never talked to Lauren. I've always just talked to either go through my agent or Holly, producer on the show.
You've never talked to the show creator at this point?
Just during the records.
They didn't have the showrunner in there telling you what to say?
Well, he was in San Francisco. There are people in New York, and it's voiceover, so you can do it from anywhere. And Holly, who's now a writer on the show, but was a producer for the pilot presentation. And as soon as I saw it was Lauren, I was like, I'm sure he is calling me to say, our show got picked up, but we're recasting you. And I waited a while to call back because I just didn't want to hear that. And finally called him back, and he said,
how long did you wait?
Like 40 minutes, not that long.
So 40 minutes is about how much it takes you to psychically gird yourself to being fired.
Yeah, I guess that's right. And then I called him back, and he said, I want to talk to you about casting. So, it is. I am getting recast. We're changing your character to a girl, which has actually happened to me in real life before, where I went out for a part, and then they cast Morgan Murphy and changed character to a girl. That I didn't. I'm not saying I would have got the part if they didn't change the part, but I was like, this is happening again. And then he said, no, we're not getting another person. We're changing the character girl. And I said, I can't do a girl's voice. I can't do any voices except my own voice. And then he said, that's fine. And it's like, well, I was just thinking that's going to sound terrible, but if you want to do that, fine, it's your show. But then he sent me a sample and I was like, wow, this actually makes sense with his character.
Had you ever been told you sound like a girl before?
No, I had not. And I've had a lot of insults thrown at me over the years, but no one's ever said I sound like a girl.
No, was there mixed emotions about getting it picked up of it being a girl?
No, actually, I thought that made it better because that gave like me a funny story to tell. So I could say, isn't it funny that I'm playing a girl on the show and pretend like I was being self-deprecating and it wouldn't sound like I was just bragging. That.
So you're already preparing your humble brag.
Yeah, exactly.
And have you been recognized in the bank?
No,
like it's
voiceover.
Yeah, but
even voice, yeah. People, I think when they see me and hear the voice, it doesn't.
I've been recognized in the back hallway from my voice.
The Comedy Store.
At the Comedy Store, yeah.
Well,
so
yeah, they just saw you on stage.
People who trust me, it's a Comedy Store. They didn't see me on stage, just hanging out in the back. They said, David Taylor, I know you from your voice. You got to tell me at least one person.
It has happened a couple times.
Okay,
but
when did it happen?
Pretty rare. I remember I was working in an office, and it was an office building where a bunch of different shows rent a space, and then someone just ran down the hall and said, "Hey, do you play Tina?" Because they heard me walking by.
So they just heard you, or they knew who you were?
They just heard me. No, they didn't know who I was. They just heard me on the phone or something. And I think that's the only time.
So now you're married and you have a baby, too, actually. Mm-hmm. So you're really doubling down. I guess, in for a penny, in for a pound. So you were with your wife when you started this whole process.
Yeah, I had, I guess we'd just been dating a couple months when I went in for the first.
So my question is, have women showed a little more interest since they know you play a girl on TV?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really, I don't really get into situations where they would show interest, because I have kids and I don't really go out. So it's not like I'm like even getting in a situation.
I guess you're not doing stand-up also.
Yeah, I know. I guess, I do stand up. I mean, if you're asking, have like women been coming up and hitting on me?
Yes.
No.
Well, I guess you're a father and a husband, so it could be worse. So you are doing stand-up? You're getting out there and doing it?
Yeah, I've been doing it.
The weird thing about you is that you are incredibly lazy about stand-up. You're always like, I'm not going to do it. I haven't written anything. And then you have a 30-minute special like 2 months later. You're always advancing while not actually doing it, seems like.
Well, I try really hard to spend time writing jokes.
Okay.
And I've been trying to write like a joke a day. But I just don't need to. Well, I mean, most comedians need to go up like every night as much as possible.
Yes.
And I've never felt like I needed to do that. And I think part of it is, since I am a little more charactery, and I'm not really conversational on stage. And I think for most comedians...
Well, you are, but it's your version of a conversation.
Yeah. It's like, and I think for most comedians, you have to create this illusion that you're always really confident and you're just having a normal conversation with your audience like they're your friends. And that I think is incredibly hard to pull off, and that's why I think people need to like.
So you just
get
punted,
up. And I don't have to do that. I don't have to do the hardest part of stand-up, and because I'm like kind of, if I'm nervous or awkward on stage, that's part of what I do, and I talk slowly, so that's easy. So
your version of doing stand-up is not doing stand-up, is just writing, and then you pull out the jokes and see if they work. Yeah,
I mean, I would do stand-up. I mean, I like doing stand-up. I just don't, doing local shows in LA, for spending 3 hours of your night to do 7 minutes is a little bit annoying when you have a family. And if I felt like I needed to do it, I would do
the
it.
Other side is it's freedom from your family for 3 hours.
Yeah, but it's after the kids are in bed. So it's like,
I guess, yeah.
It's using up my small amount of freedom.
So your background is interesting because, I don't know, do people know about your Harvard math thing? Did everybody know that about you?
I don't know. Harvard math?
Well, no, you didn't do math. You went to Harvard.
Yeah.
And you wanted to major in math.
Yeah, I was thinking about. I ended up majoring in philosophy.
Okay.
And math. And
well, did you do symbolic logic, or was it?
Yeah, I took like logic and a lot of stuff like that. I was initially more considering majoring in math, but I kind of realized freshman year, there's so many people there that are so good at math that if if I did the math major, I would have been one of the dumbest people in the math major, and I just didn't want to do that. Whereas philosophy, or pretty much anything other than math or a hardcore STEM, it's like no one really knows. You can always say if you got a bad grade that it was a great paper that was misunderstood.
So you can, math, philosophy allows you to pretend. Math is a little too concrete. So you're from So originally you're from Alaska. So I've known you for a long time, so I feel like I know all this stuff. Originally from Alaska, so you grew up there the whole time? Your family?
Yeah, I was born there and then until I went to college.
Did you do outdoorsy stuff? It doesn't strike me as you'd be the type of outdoorsy kind of guy.
Not really. I mean, I'm Jewish, and
well, you were in Alaska. They have to have Jews that do outdoor stuff.
Yeah, I'm more outdoorsy than a Jew from somewhere other.
Anthony Bourdain is also Jewish, and that dude's out there eating stuff.
But yeah, I mean, I love like skiing and hiking and whatever. I didn't go on like week-long hunting trips or anything.
Did other kids in Alaska do that?
I don't know. Probably
it's
not.
It's odd
actually.
to think you're from the same state as the Palin family.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
What did your father do? What did your mother do?
My dad's a lawyer. Mom's an accountant.
Okay, so they were doing the brain work for the white trash.
Well, I don't know if I wouldn't. Alaska's not really white trash. I think it's.
I've been to Alaska. It is a significant.
Parts of everywhere are.
No, Alaska's heavily white trash. Alaska, you get money from oil just by being there. So everybody has an F-150 truck.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of drinking.
Yeah. And that's something, I didn't really realize when I lived there because I was a kid. And then when I've gone back as an adult, I was surprised at how many bars there are in Anchorage for not that many people living there.
It is incredible. Yeah. That's probably just because it's either all day sunlight, which fucks with your head, or all day night, which is even worse.
Yeah. And I think, I think the night, it causes a lot of depression and murder and crime and stuff.
A lot of murder?
The dirt. I don't know. I think I heard that.
You have
once.
any funny stories about?
I didn't actually know personally any murders.
So were you the valedictorian in your class in high school? Was that the deal?
Yeah, but they had like 10 valedictorians this year because they just switched to like a different grade point system, but grandfathered in anyone that would have, because they started giving.
How many people were in your class?
Well, they don't normally have 10 valedictorians.
But I'm
just
there were
saying
10?
Because they switched systems, they grandfathered in people from the old system.
Okay.
Who would have been
so it sounds like
class.
And then was it a big high school?
It's pretty big. I mean, there's like, I don't know, 5 or 7 high schools in Anchorage.
But so you're like 300, 400 people to see your class?
I think that sounds right.
So like 1 in 40 people in your class was a valedictorian. Yeah. And then you applied to Harvard. Did you apply to other places? Were you excited to get in?
I was very excited to get in. I mean, my dad went there. So
legacy.
I didn't realize. So it makes it easier to get in.
That does help you out.
And I got in early, so then I was like, I don't want to apply anywhere else and then not get in and feel like, I only got in because my dad went there. So now I can just not ever know if I would or wouldn't have.
It's odd, your approach to life. It's like a
lot of loss aversion.
Exactly. You don't want to be hurt. It's
I mean, I regret that sometimes. I mean, I do wish now that I had been a math major, because people are, now that I'm out in the real world, I thought people think philosophy is a really smart major, and now people equate it with like folklore, mythology, and
psychology and communications. It's all lumped into a thing.
Yeah.
Basically, you majored in Harvard.
Yeah.
So the Lampoon, you applied freshman year. Was it tough to get in?
Yeah, I did not get in the first time I applied. I got in sophomore year. It's pretty common. Yeah.
What's the politics like there? I mean,
the politics on the Lampoon.
The politics of the Lampoon. Did you have a hard time with that? Because the weird thing about you is you are almost apolitical, and that seems to be your strength.
You're talking about you're not talking about national politics.
I don't mean national politics. I mean the politics
of
actually working there.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know I guess I didn't really wasn't really following the politics.
You're the only person I know from Harvard who's managed to just blithely sort of float along like, oh, I don't know. And just that's your superpower.
Well, I never was trying to run, like it's really like there's
Dan,
elections.
you are one of the most cutthroat, competitive people I know. And that girl voice hides that so perfectly. And I don't think that was different when you were in college. So how did you did you
Okay,
just
I was competitive, but like I wasn't competitive. I was competitive about like I really want to get on the Lampoon, but once I was on, there wasn't like
you weren't competitive about beating other people.
Well, it wasn't a contest anymore.
It wasn't. It's always a contest.
I mean,
getting your pieces in, surely that would be some sort of contest.
Yeah, but there was. I mean, there was like is a big magazine for how many writers there were.
So you were just happy just being a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think. I mean, I guess what was a little hard as it was just being, a lot of people in groups like. It was just intimidating.
Why was it intimidating?
Socially intimidating because it's people. It's a comedy magazine. It's Harvard, so like to people. I guess that's what is competitive. Is just like would be in a conversation like. I mean, I guess it'd be the same thing. Just being around comedians, where everyone is joking or trying to be someone's joke, and I get nervous in that kind of environment.
Did most of the people you worked with at the Lampoon end up writing for television?
I think so. Yeah.
Like, give me numbers here. How many people you went to college with wrote for TV?
Wow.
Just off the top of your head, order Mac, 10, 20?
20?
20 people.
I don't know. That's totally off the top of my head.
And do they help each other out, or is it just one of those things where?
Yeah. I don't feel like, I mean, that's probably why so many do write for television, because it's a networking thing.
So has it helped you out?
I don't know if it, well,
it actually it doesn't seem like it's helped you out as much as stand-up.
I'm sure it's helped me out like in indirect ways, but the most direct way I've like gotten jobs is through stand-up, probably.
I suppose so. So you came out here after the Lampoon. You were jobless very briefly, and then you ended up writing for Crank Yankers. How long were you?
Yeah. How long was I out here before?
It wasn't that you were working for a casino, weren't you? Like counting cards or something?
Yeah. I was out here, I guess, about a year before I got the writing job. And I had, I had a lot of trouble getting a job that would still allow me to do stand-up.
Which is ironic in retrospect.
And so, I was doing weird jobs for money. I was like editing college essays for a while, but I wasn't really getting enough work.
Did that pay well?
It seemed to pay well at the time. I mean, for
I'm not saying
number of hours.
It's TV scale money. Was it a lot of hours, or
it wasn't enough hours really?
Okay.
And then I worked at a casino for a while, doing temp work. And then
what job did you hate the most?
Well, the casino job was just really hard because it was a night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
That would fuck up your stand-up, I would think.
That's why I ended up leaving, because I thought like, well, that's late enough. And back then you were doing more open mics and stuff. That's early, but then they're just so exhausted. It just wasn't.
What were you doing for the casino?
And it's a little hard to explain without being boring, so you can cut it if it's
synopsize.
But in California they have the loophole to have legal, like not like Indian casinos, but regular casinos, is they're called card clubs, and the house is not allowed to bet against you. You're just playing against other players and paying the house like a certain amount per hand. But with blackjack, that's weird because in blackjack you play against the dealer. So basically the players take turns being the bank basically, and paying out or taking in money if the dealer wins or loses. But if you're the bank, you only have to give out or take in as much as you want to put on the table. So then this company would hire you to basically sit at the blackjack table and put the bank be the house basically. And when the person whose turn it was ran out of money to pay out, you'd pay out or take in money.
That does sound very boring.
And it seemed on paper really fun because like, wow, you're technically getting paid to play at blackjack. What was really hard about it was the casino has no incentive to stop cheating because they're not the house. So it's kind of your job to keep an eye on cheating, and also just to make sure the dealer.
Did casinos cheat?
The casinos?
Yeah, you said you mean the
The
players?
casinos, it's not like Vegas where they have all these security making sure people don't cheat. The casino doesn't care if you cheat because players are going to play against each other.
You mean the players have,
And then the dealer wants the players to win so they can make mistakes in their favor. So you just have to be paying a lot of attention the whole time, and just like paying attention
on a night shift job.
On a night shift job that's like pretty boring. Is like exhausting.
How long did you last?
So I was just there for a couple months.
Yeah, I could see that would start to get really fucking annoying.
And then there's also a long commute. But
oh yeah, was it Commerce?
Hawaiian Gardens. That's
I don't even know where
that's
that is.
That's like almost Orange County.
So you ended up writing for Crank Yankers.
Yeah.
What were you? You're just writing? Were you writing pranks or what were you?
Yeah, that was my first job.
Yeah.
Crank Yankers, and it was. It was a really fun job because we were just you just come up with ideas for the prank calls. I mean, it's unscripted, and then
can you think of any that you came up with? And how dark did they go?
How dark did they go?
Yeah, like with the pranks. I think a really good one would be calling somebody to let her know that her son has died.
I don't think they would go that dark.
See, that was. I mean, maybe that's just my taste. What would you do?
I'm trying to. I can't even. I mean, it's all blurring together. Like the
casino job, the Crank Yankers.
Well, just the different calls. I'm trying to remember like when I did that. Actually,
it's been a while. I suppose
it's been a while. It's been a while.
Many jobs since then.
And then for the actual calls, they do them out of Vegas because of recording phone call consent law. Nevada worked better.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to do that in California.
Yeah, and
so they would call people in California from Vegas or anywhere.
No, you'd have to call from a one-party consent state to a one-party consent state.
Okay, so
and there's like 10 or whatever states you can call. And so that was fun because then it was very low tech, but you just have a little marker board to write jokes on and hold up, and they usually.
I guess this was before. I mean, I assume that the technology would have improved by now.
Yeah. But yeah.
Did you like that one? Did you enjoy that?
And that was a fun job. It was very being my first job. It was one of the most stressful ones
because you're worried about
getting
fired
the most worried
all
about
day.
Getting fired.
Now,
yeah.
What's your attitude towards getting fired now? It's more.
I mean, it's still something I worry about, but the longer, I mean, it's just like with stand-up. Like when you start out and you bomb, you feel like much more failure than when you've been doing it for years.
You're calloused
and you just remember. Well, you just like know, like when you've like done 100 shows, 101 is not going to change your average.
Yeah.
So it's like when I've had like so many times on writing jobs where I feel like
have you been fired?
I'm not contributing. I've not been fired.
I
guess it's pretty
fired.
Yeah.
I was always worried on Jezlink I was going to get fired, and then I was fired. I was like,
but were you fired, or you just weren't asked back?
That's being fired. Not being asked back is being fired.
Okay, well, I guess then I was
It wasn't
fired
just they didn't ask me back. It was that after 13 weeks they didn't renew me or extend me.
Okay, well then
I mean that's being fired. They don't ever fire anybody.
Yeah.
You can be a heroin addict and still write for television.
Yeah.
So they never fire. They just
I guess you're right.
Don't. When were you sort of fired?
I worked on that show, the Jonathan Ames show on HBO.
Bored to Death?
Bored to Death. On like the
that?
pilot. We're just working on the pilot for like 2 weeks. And then he didn't like me or whatever.
Really?
I don't know. Didn't.
What were you doing on it? Like punching it up or?
I
forgot that show existed.
It's hard to remember. Or maybe talking about like, because I think the pilot was already done. So maybe it was giving notes on it, or maybe it was planning out future episodes. I don't really remember.
I think as a writer, you get paid a lot for like two things. One is not taking credit. That's where you get your money. You get your money from your anonymity, you know, because that keeps the illusion that these people are just coming up with on the fly. And the second thing you get paid for is just the utter, pain of, you said something brilliant to me once about writers and actors, the difference between writers and actors, and it's actors are happy because every job makes them happier, and writers are unhappy, and every job they book just takes a little bit of the pain away.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did say that. I've quoted that to a lot of people. In retrospect, I should have just taken that one for myself. I should have just stolen that.
Yeah, because I don't remember saying that.
Do you enjoy acting more than writing? Have you booked anything other than the voice of the teenage girl? I mean, have you been...
just little things on sketches.
Really? Do you end up playing Dan Mintz every time?
At least once, yeah.
So can you do anything other than the Dan Mintz character?
I mean, I have a pretty narrow range. I don't think I would.
Have you tried to do anything other than Dan Mintz character?
Just in acting classes. In acting class.
Because I remember when we were in acting class together, your thing was you would take your two arms and you'd lock them to your side, and you would, when you get serious, why am I being so serious? And then when I teased you about that, then you just locked one arm to your side.
Right. That was early on.
So now that
was pretty early on, but that was funny. I'd like always lift on my arm, and then eventually I could get both arms down, but then my hand would just lift up.
Yeah, it was like you were frozen in place like an action figure.
So,
what have you learned from acting class?
I mean, acting class has been because we took an acting class together.
We did take
a class together
with
Bill.
Yeah. Bill Howie, a fantastic acting teacher.
It's been because I only want to ever do like this my own character, really.
Is this part of your loss aversion?
I think it's more being realistic about what I can and can't do.
Being realistic seems like that's a restatement of loss aversion philosophy.
But
you were realistic when you decided that you didn't want to major in math.
Right. Well, I think just at being a comedian, I've already taken enough risk.
Yeah, that's what I've understood too. It's like we're betting our entire lives, and then people get conservative after that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the longer you go, the more conservative you get. But
I guess there's stuff to lose.
But I feel like even though all I want to do for now is just my own deadpan character, just going into Bill's class and just playing, you just get assigned a random scene study class, and playing all sorts of characters I never would be cast as, it's because like while I'm doing it, I feel like, well, I would never do a character like this, so I don't know what I'm doing for it. But then when I go back to doing my monotone, deadpan self, it has more levels to it, and it's kind of like playing these characters, these emotional characters, like high altitude training, that just by like pushing myself in that kind of environment, and then going back to what I do is so much easier.
So has your acting helped with the character of Tina Belcher?
I mean, I really think it has, because
I'll tell you this, that character has fans. I know this because the woman who does the booking of the belly room here has your character on her phone as her case. And I made sure to introduce you, and she was really embarrassed by that. But she's like, the only time I've ever heard her be starstruck was when you were mentioned.
I mean, I can't...
Tina Belcher, she's like the best. I love her.
I mean, I can't take that much credit for the character, because I didn't design the character, didn't draw the character, I don't write for the character. But I do feel like...
You're thinking like a writer when you say that.
Yeah, I do feel like... But I will give myself some credit, because I do feel like if I had never taken an acting class and was just doing deadpan, low-energy stand-up, I don't think I could have done as much with the character because when I started doing it, I feel like Tina was more just to say weird jokes and weird lines, and then they started to give her more stuff to do and give her actual like conflicts where she was the center of the show for certain episodes.
So you've had to deal with, they had emotional plot lines.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, I don't know which, you said you saw one episode.
One episode, first season.
That was probably like before that. That's probably not it. Yeah.
John Benjamin is really funny in Archer.
Yeah.
So he's a really good Archer. Maybe I'd re-listen to Bob's Burgers, rewatch Bob's Burgers, now being a big John Benjamin fan.
Yeah.
But, so you're saying now you've developed out where you're more like a...
Yeah, and I feel like that... Because I like when people...
Because I'll tell you this, I don't know that I will ever meet somebody who is, I don't know, less likely. Just if you think about your career path, you went to Harvard to major in math, and that has led you to playing a 13-year-old girl on television.
Yeah, it's not where I picture myself.
No, but it's everything is logical. Each step led to the other. When you were starting at Harvard, did you think I'll work in entertainment, or did you think I'd be in academia?
I mean, I've always I wanted to work in entertainment. I wasn't sure that's what I would end up doing, but
was this part of your whole loss aversion thing? You just didn't.
No, I don't think. I mean, academia is probably like less job security than entertainment.
I guess that's true. Or
But,
it's just as little, and then you don't get paid very much. So
yeah.
the expected value calculations
and at
all
least
wrong.
you know you're in entertainment. You'll live in New York or LA.
That's a good point. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, they were both things where, with being a freshman in college, like I have no idea if I would be able to go into academia. I have no idea if I'd be able to go into entertainment. But I will, hope that I could do something like that. And since the great thing about Harvard is like you can just go into finance or something.
That is a good point. You can fail into so many things.
Yeah.
So you, how old are your kids?
Almost 3 and 9 months.
So the 3-year-old is
Sam.
It's a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Is the boy aware of television?
Yes, and we let him watch TV.
Do you let him watch Bob's Burgers?
No, because you don't really realize until you're a parent how easy it is to watch something that's not designed for kids and have your kid repeat something that make you look like a bad parent.
Well, such as you're not even worried about the kid being damaged. You just don't want other parents to judge you.
Yeah, well, I think that is a lot of things. Like, I don't think most parents think their kid will be damaged by cursing. But you do. It would be embarrassing for your kids.
It's more like socially acceptable behavior.
Yeah, but something like if it's like a violent slasher movie, then you actually might worry about your kid. But like if it's like a family comedy like Bob's Burgers, like I don't think that would damage him to watch it. But
you haven't showed him at all. You've rewatched it with that thought in mind.
Well, I think he's maybe seen it. I think he's maybe like been in the room when it was on. He knows what it is.
Did he recognize your voice?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he's watched it since he.
Because that might be a little damaging.
Yeah, he does. I don't think he understands that. Yeah, I don't think he understands that there's actors doing voices. He knows what the characters are because we have, you just get like T-shirts from working there that have characters on it, and like fans have given me like Tina dolls and stuff.
Fans have done what?
Like fans giving me a Tina doll.
Is that disturbing to you?
No, it's.
Have you ever had a weird fan?
I mean, I've never had a like deep enough engagement with someone to know if they're weird or not.
You're not on social media at all.
Yeah.
You don't tweet.
Yeah, no.
What's that? You just don't want to spend the time. I don't want
to spend the time.
Because you could have a fan base.
I mean, I don't. Well, for me to actually tweet. That's like a whole nother writing job to actually be writing funny things to tweet on top of.
See, you are really, really overestimating how funny you have to be to tweet.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do have a Twitter account that I have been planning to start tweeting on.
So you're
for a while.
Really? So you have one that you're rolling out? How many followers do you have?
Well, I haven't tweeted yet.
Okay, so but how many? You don't...
Well, no one knows what it is.
What is it?
I don't remember. I mean, I would.
You don't remember.
I would get it if I was actually doing it.
Mine
I'd get it verified.
At Dan Mintz.
I think that was taken. So it was like some underscore.
At Dan Mintz 1.
At Dan Mintz underscore maybe. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. I just I guess it is the loss aversion thing you're saying. I mean, when you're doing stand up and you want to try a new joke, you can try it in front of 10 people.
Hell, if I'm lucky.
Yeah, and then you only would bring it to a wider audience once you had vetted it. But I don't like the idea of like showing it to everyone as soon as I think of it without knowing if it's good or not yet.
I see what you're saying, I guess. It's fascinating.
But if people...
You've succeeded so much for somebody who just evinces every possible type of self-limiting behavior. It's like that's your superpower. You are like the fish in nature that succeeds by like looking like a rock, and just kind of seeming harmless. And then next thing you know, I guess that fish is, on television. I'm not sure where that...
I haven't heard of that fish, but it's like the bug looks like a stick.
There we go. Bug looks like a stick. There are many cases in nature of animals looking like their background.
Yeah.
So you are you going to stay on Bob's Burgers for a while? Do you think things are going to go? It seems like pretty successful.
Yeah, hopefully.
Have there been any chances to do ads where you can be a Tina voice for something else or just do commercials?
No one's asked me to do it.
Because I really think like a great gimmick would be you could be a voiceover for porn
Mm-hmm.
or like gay porn or something, it would be super funny to hear Tina Belcher say stuff.
Well, I don't own the character.
But does Fox have to sort of vet what you do with your voice?
Oh, you mean if it's not officially Tina, but it's just my own voice?
Just like the voice of Art Simpson was doing the Scientology voiceover.
Oh, right. I could do Scientology. Right. I could do the Scientology.
So they don't have any control over your voice.
No. That's true.
Do they edit? Do they change the voice a lot?
It is pitched up a half tone.
Just a half tone?
Yeah.
So that's not like huge, just like,
yeah.
It's pretty close.
But I don't know if they own that either.
I guess you're right. Yeah. Now, your parents, are they excited that you're the voice of?
Yeah, I think
Tina?
they're really excited.
They're pretty happy for you. So, and then you're married to a comedian, right? Is she still doing it?
I mean, she hasn't done it since we had kids.
That's been a while. What is she doing? Is she writing stuff? Is she just being a full-time mom?
She's
Margie.
being a lot of the time mom. Margie, a lot of the time mom, and works at a theater, general manager of a theater.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Are you guys gonna sell something together? It seems like you could.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean,
you've gone in and
maybe
pitched
once
stuff?
our kids are a little older, we could think about.
I guess that's true. Well, yeah. So it's nice to have somebody who's actually watching the kids. It's actually nice to make enough money that everything's good.
Yeah, money's good to have.
And you were show running on The Awesomes, The Incredibles. What was it called?
The Awesomes. Well, I wouldn't say showrunner. That was like Seth and
what
Seth
was
Meyers
your role?
and Mike Shoemaker, but I was like the head writer, I guess you'd say, because I was like a middleman between Seth Meyers and Mike Shoemaker. They created the show, or have their talk show, so they're pretty busy with that. And then I would kind of manage all the scripts to send to them.
Okay, so it seems like you got a lot of stuff going on. Was that a lot of work? I mean,
The Awesomes?
Yeah. I remember you said that you didn't want to be staffed on a show because it was going to be too much time.
I feel differently now.
Because you have kids.
Yeah.
That's changed your approach to your career.
It's also, I think when I said that I had maybe some not as good experiences, and then I think I've had better experiences now, so I'm more positive about it. But I mean, The Awesomes is for like 4 months it's a full-time job, and then for like another 5 months it's like an hour to a week job.
And you get paid all the way through?
We get paid per episode.
I guess that's true. So that's a pretty good deal. And then you can work for the rest of the time on some other stuff. So how has having a family changed your approach to your career? Have you gotten less loss averse?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like in a way I've gotten less loss averse about money, which paradoxically, because you think you like worry more about money.
You worry less about money now that you have children?
Well, I've always been like very, very cheap and get very stressed out about spending money.
Yeah.
And then once you have kids, you're just constantly just hemorrhaging money that I just kind of got callous to it.
So now you just spend.
Now I can just get over it faster if I've like, why did I waste $10 on that?
Wait until they have to go to school and you have to pay for it.
Well, we're in a good elementary school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you can you get free school?
So
did you move for that purpose?
Yeah. That's why. I mean, that's why I picked that neighborhood.
That's probably a good idea. So then you got a while before you really start losing money on the children.
Yeah, I mean, if college is going to be it doubles every 10 years, so it's going to be $1 million per.
Jesus, that's
kid.
a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Unless something changes, yeah.
Or you can convince them they don't need to go to Harvard like Daddy.
Yeah. Well, Harvard actually is like the best financial aid. So
because they figure that
they just have the biggest. They can afford it because they have the most
massive
money.
endowment.
Yeah, so it's actually like free for a lot of kids.
I'm gonna guess not your children, unless there's some academic issue. But like,
no, it depends on.
Is it when you say it's free? Is it for poor people or?
No, I think free for. I don't know the details, but I think probably middle class, even upper middle class.
Really?
But it all depends on. I mean, if like Bosworth gets canceled and I can't get a job for a while, I might not have a lot of money.
You really have an apocalyptic career view.
Well, you should.
I suppose, but you're head writer on one show, voice on. Are you at least saving money, Dan? I'm worried about.
No, yeah, because we're trying. That's why I'm saving money, because you don't want to. You never know when your luck will run out.
I guess that's true, but yours seems pretty good.
Yeah, so far. So far I've been working pretty steadily. I mean, I remember, when I first started working, and you just have fresh in your mind the struggling for money. You always think like, this is gonna be my last job.
Yeah, that's how I felt on my one job, and I was right. So I got to say, sometimes that's absolutely accurate. So, but since then you've relaxed a little bit.
And now, just because, once you have kids, you're spending so much money, you have to.
What are you spending money on? Like, I don't know what it's like to have kids.
Just
a little more food. Other than that,
I mean, Margie buys most of the stuff, so I just noticed that our credit card bills are a lot higher.
So you don't
but
even.
I think it's food, and
you don't sound very hands-on with the raising of the kids.
Well, she just orders everything from Amazon. That's all. But it's just all like every baby thing. You have to buy like a million things, and then
I guess that's the case.
And then food, and then you're paying to feed 4 people.
Are you a hands-on dad? Are you the strict one? Like, what's the story there?
I'm not. Well, I actually have kind of made a choice to defer to Margie about important decisions, because I just knew that it would stress me out so much, and that stress would not be good for my kids.
You made a decision to check out.
To defer to Margie, if they're like, can I have this, to be like, Margie, can they have it, instead of having to.
That's really how you approach it.
Yeah, because I think that I don't want. I think it's like made me a lot more relaxed about it, and that makes me a better parent. I think that constantly being the one to worry about everything and to try to make decisions would stress me out and make me not as good of a parent.
So you've offloaded that stress onto your poor wife?
No, because has a different personality from me, so she thrives off of that.
What were your parents like? Was your dad the disciplinarian? Was your mom the disciplinarian?
I mean, my dad was it was probably reversed roles from what I'm saying. Yeah, my dad was like the one that was like deciding the rules and stuff.
Do you find yourself acting, so you're acting more like your mom?
So it's more like it's more like deciding like, that seems really stressful to me, and so I'm going to be more like my mom and have Margie. It's
because, again, it's really weird to hear anybody put parenting in terms of stress.
Well, I think it's
that's not the usual unit.
No, I understand, but
even of life measurement.
Well, for me, I just have anxiety issues. So that's always been one of the biggest factors in my life,
is the amount of stress, the amount of anxiety,
and managing anxiety, and so
when Margie said, "I'm pregnant," were you? There presumably was anxiety there. Were you terrified? Like,
yeah, but well, what happened was we were not planning to get pregnant yet, and then we had a scare where Margie thought she was, and she was late, and I went through the whole. Kind of, what are the 10, 12 stages of
grieving?
Like
you went through the Kubler-Ross stages of life?
But it's not just for grieving. It's for
denial, acceptance, grief, bargaining,
whatever
denial,
it was.
anger.
I went through different stages. I don't know.
Denial, anger, grief, bargaining, and acceptance.
Probably not the grief ones.
Okay.
But different stages, starting with denial. And I definitely did not want to have kids yet. And then it was just like, it was actually like in like a TV show where at the end I was like, you know what, I'm excited about this. Oh wait, I just had my period. We're not pregnant. But kind of going through that.
It is very sitcom-y.
Yeah, going through that made us realize that we were ready. And so then we actually had kids pretty early. It was before we'd been married for a year.
Okay, so that makes sense actually. I always get confused about the timing.
Yeah.
And then after that though, the anxiety just sort of slowly increased.
Yeah, but it actually has been a lot better than I thought it would be.
How so?
And I think you just the idea of like, I thought I would constantly worry about bad things happening to my kids, but it's almost like your brain can't even comprehend that. It's like so you don't even have those ideas in your head, and it's actually like holding a baby or a toddler like kind of releases endorphins and actually I think calms me.
That makes sense. I mean, otherwise, if that weren't the case, we would have died out as a species long ago because
I mean,
take that crying thing and dash it against a rock. Yeah.
So that actually has not been. I thought all the things I thought would be really hard about having kids have not been hard. It's just been new issues. Hard?
What
I mean, the hardest
surprised you?
thing
What's been
is
difficult?
is time management. I think which is one reason why like now I do like having like a normal writing job where I go to an office every day, because when you're trying to do your own thing on your own schedule and you have kids,
The kids always take priority.
Yeah.
So then you can never get anything done.
Yeah. And so that has been the biggest challenge for me. But the nice thing about that is that gets a lot better as your kids get a little older. I
suppose
hope.
once they go to
I wouldn't know
school,
yet. Yeah.
Once they discover drinking,
Yeah.
they're doing their own thing.
Once they go to college.
Any plans for a third or fourth?
No.
I assume that Margie makes the decisions on this.
Well, for that, I would probably have
Would
some
you get
input.
a vote in that too?
Yeah.
It's not stress based.
Yeah, that I don't think they could handle.
How has the marriage changed since? I mean, you guys are getting to know each other, I guess, a little bit when you started. I mean, you were together for a while before you married, weren't you?
Yeah.
You had a very nice wedding, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. It was very.
Sorry, it's a little cold, but.
You mean the temperature, not your personality?
Yeah.
It was fun. Didn't Mulaney do like the?
Yeah, Mulaney was the officiant.
Well, officiant. And here's the thing about weddings is, an absolute rule is don't try to be funny at the wedding. And Mulaney is so funny, he can violate that rule and still make people laugh.
Yeah, he was the best.
Yeah, and then your vows were really funny. Like,
Thank you.
So,
yeah, that was
so
really
you get
fun.
married and then you have kids relatively quickly. Did that change the dynamic?
I mean, it does. Well, Mari, like she's the
Yes.
warm, effusive, patient one. I'm more neurotic.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's like when having the stress of having kids kind of makes us
Pushes
a
you
little
harder
bit.
in your roles, or what?
Well, she has less of a reserve of patience.
Yeah.
And I get a little, more on edge. So you end up like fighting more, and there's just less of a cushion. But I kind of may realize like people that are already fighting or already like aren't already super patient with each other before they have kids. I feel like I can't see how they could possibly stay together after having
Well,
kids.
that's how you end up with children like me, I guess. They end up raising comedians.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's interesting because you're not the standard dad type.
Mm-hmm.
I can see you being a good dad, but again, it's like I guess everybody has their different picture of what like a dad is.
Mm-hmm.
And now your kids, you're gonna be their picture of what a dad is.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Is it
think about
so? The daughter is 9 months old,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't really have any sense for the differences in the genders just yet.
No, we do. I mean, girls develop faster.
But yeah, that much faster. 9 months.
No, I'm just saying like compared to like where a boy would be at 9 months.
Really?
Like they're
smarter,
they're just
they're
more
more
focused and like start crawling, and they're just more on point with their developmental.
Already taking calls
milestones.
from boys,
Yeah,
dating
hopefully.
5-year-olds, 6-year-olds.
Yeah. But but you can't really tell their personality yet.
Yeah, well, eventually, I think personality starts showing up like 4 or 5 from what I've seen from my friends'
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's weird is how fast the time passes. And
Yeah.
like
That's what everyone says, but
it.
but I feel like time would still passes fast when you don't have kids.
Absolutely, but I guess you don't have markers of that.
Yeah.
Time absolutely. You think about it. Doesn't it seem like you just moved to Los Angeles
Yeah, it's crazy.
and you've been here for what, 10 years?
13 years.
13. Yeah, I've been 15. I remember when you were like, it's weird thing. In my head, you're still kind of the new guy, and you're doing lots of stuff. You moved here. You and BJ moved here together.
Well, he was here. He was here a year before me, but he had just started doing stand-up, like I think a few months before I came out here. So we were going to all the openings
That makes sense
together.
because you guys were like open mic buddies. You guys were friends at Harvard.
Yeah. I mean, he was one. He was already on Lampoon when I was trying to get on. He like really one of the people that really supported me, and I don't know what the process was for me getting on. 'Cause I wasn't there. I haven't asked anyone, but I know like when we would go in, you would go in, and then the people on would read your pieces and give you notes, and he was always super positive. And
So what do you mean when
supportive.
you'd go in? When you'd apply? Or?
When you were applying, it was kind of this, like, you just have to turn in like 3 or 6 comedy pieces, but they would have office hours. It sounds very pretentious, but it was actually really helpful when I was trying to get on.
Yeah.
Twice a week, where you go in and then they read your pieces and give you notes, and then you write more.
So you don't officially submit until later, but they'll give you feedback.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So he was one of the people giving notes. And then did you end up giving notes to people after that?
Yeah.
Were there any really hopeless people who were applying to the Lampoon where you thought, this is a nightmare?
I mean, no one really stands out, but I think I do remember there were people that were so funny in their own way, but would not like ever take notes at all. And there's something like it's a little hard to say. There's like a voice to the Lampoon.
It's funny because the Lampoon sounds a lot like TV writing.
Yeah, it is. I think
because
there's a reason why.
Yeah, it's like about learning how to toe the line.
And it's like, I mean, the funniest people were people that still had their own voice and were able to also incorporate in the voice of the magazine, and kind of combine the best of both.
Yeah, it's like a vector.
And
like
then,
it points in a certain direction, and if your magnitude is great, it better be close to the vector's direction.
So I do remember people who were really funny, and I feel like it's just frustrating because if they had, and I totally understand not wanting to change what you do because
they were stubborn about
myself,
it.
but like, yeah, and then, but I don't. It's hard to remember. It's so long ago. It's hard to remember specific.
Did that help? I mean, when you were basically being a head writer in a weird way is similar to that. Were you editing at the Lampoon or putting stuff together? Were you in charge of the Lampoon at all?
No. Well, everyone gets to be in charge of one issue of the magazine.
Oh, really? And does that reflect your personality?
Being in charge?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
does the issue itself, does that like...
Yes.
It looks like it's a very Dan Mintz issue.
I guess so.
Do you still have yours?
Somewhere, yeah.
Have you reread it at all?
No. I went back. I remember because you had a show reading your writing,
and you went back.
And I went back and read
my
own pieces, and I did not think they're as good as I remember them being.
Yeah. Well, you know that quote by Thomas Pynchon that everything you write 15 years ago or 20 years ago embarrasses you, including canceled checks.
Yeah, I don't know that quote, but that makes sense.
Yeah. So you went back and you looked, and you're like, "This was not what I thought."
Yeah.
So now you're head writing for stuff. If are you going to try to do network stuff? You're going to try to sell your own thing? What's the plan here?
Yeah, I mean, I would trying to do all of that. I mean, I feel like there's so many everything is kind of so competitive and arbitrary to get out here that you need to try to follow every path.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I don't have a more specific answer.
That's reasonable. Trying everything and then hoping you have enough money
to
keep your kids from having to have the humiliation of going to Harvard for free.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for you, Dan.
Thank you.
So you're doing everything possible. You're doing stand-up. Where are you doing it?
I just did college, Rider University, New Jersey. I tuned, and that was really good. Sometimes... that was actually one of the best ones because they actually gave me like a theater to perform in. So it was like a real show. A lot of times at colleges, you're in like a cafeteria or you know,
over in the corner next to the trays.
And it is. I mean, I know people talk about how colleges are getting touchier now about darker stuff, and I have noticed but I also don't know if it has to do with people knowing me as a voice of Tina and having different expectations.
So you're saying you're not doing well because the stuff is dark and you're doing it in Tina's voice?
Well, I would say I think not all of my stuff is dark, and a lot of the dark stuff still works fine, but there just are certain jokes that I'm not used to being an issue. That I have jokes that I think are controversial and I would be expecting people to...
What joke? Can you give an example of a joke you were surprised that it was an issue?
Here's a joke that it's a joke I've had for a really long time. I did it on my album, but I do it because it's hard to write. My jokes are short, so it takes me a long time to write more jokes. And it was a joke that like was never one of the jokes that would offend people. Even when I had a set that was offending people, it was never one of the jokes. And then all of a sudden,
which one was
people
it?
started getting it, and it was what was the joke? It was like it's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I actually prefer drinks that are meant more for women, like a beer with a roofie in it is my favorite.
And that is
I guess it is a rape joke, but I never thought about it as a rape joke because it doesn't have the word rape in it.
Maybe Cosby's changed the game.
Yeah, and there's been
unassuming male comedians cannot just get away with.
So yeah.
So before, no problem, and now people are upset by that.
They don't like. I haven't had people boo, but they kind of like tighten. You know how you feel the room tight.
I only feel tight rooms, so it's got
so it's
basically every room is a clenched fist to me.
But it hasn't been like it hasn't been like a huge issue. It just has made me have to like, because it's not that many jokes. It's made me have to like rethink a few things, and take stuff out and move stuff around. And I feel like when I was at the show I did last week, I feel like I calmly okay, now I figured out a set that still works.
I guess some stuff that would have been controversial before is probably fine. Like for example, that joke you do. You still that one about like if you have the same birthday as 9/11, do you have two different gifts?
Yeah,
kids love that now because they're not upset about.
No,
9/11.
it actually just. As we got further away, it got dated.
Really?
It's like what the only thing that made that joke work was that it felt offensive. So now that it doesn't feel as offensive, that joke just doesn't work as well anymore.
Now you've learned how to sort of adapt.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I usually, because I'm like have a mild mannered persona, can get away with more offensive or darker stuff.
I would think so. Yeah,
but I feel like not as much as they used to be able to.
It's weird though that colleges are so tight that they're not on board with something from you.
Yeah, well, I still feel I'm surprised at how much I can get away with sometimes. But it's just,
are the kids coming out because they love the show?
It's just relative to how it used to be.
Do you fill it when you go? Do you fill it up? Do people come because they?
Yeah, I think it's I think they're there because I think they put Tina on the poster.
Oh, did they really?
So I think that's why they're there. Yeah.
And this is filling up.
And I think so. This one did.
Have you started to do jokes or things playing to the fact that they're Tina fans? Have you?
I haven't really.
Mary Lynn and I have talked about this because Mary Lynn Rice Cup does, she's on 24.
Yeah.
So all of the people coming out are these old people that love 24.
Yeah.
And then when she went to the Comedy Store, she mentioned 24 and people are like, huh? What's 24? It's got to be tough not to play to that.
Well, but I don't really play to it because, well, here's what happens. I come out, I say the first line of my first joke, and people laugh at the voice.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, it seems what, and I get this kind of free bonus laugh starting out.
It's like fame
gives
laughs,
me, it gives me a little bit of momentum. And then early on, I need to wait a little bit before I start doing jokes from a male point of view, because I don't like about being having a wife or a girlfriend,
because they still see you as a girl. They're still hearing you as a girl.
Yeah, but only like a few jokes. And I know one time I have a joke where the setup is I used to have shoulder length hair, and I opened that joke and people laughed off the setup, and I realized, oh, they think I'm saying that I was Tina and I cut my hair.
Yeah.
But no, that was the setup for a joke I had.
Did you really have shoulder length hair?
No, there was a joke. It was a one-liner.
I don't know. I thought maybe it was from reality.
No, I don't do that. But it's
outstanding.
But then I just had to move that joke later, and then it was fine.
Okay. Dan, this was very interesting.
Thank you.
I hadn't talked to you in a while, so I feel like I've caught up with you in a weird way.
Yeah, this was just us catching up. And
it really was us catching
tape
up
recorder here
for the benefit of 20 strangers.
I didn't really catch up with you, but you can tell me.
There's nothing new to hear. Like, I'm still
You did
bald.
tell me you got fired from Just Like shows, right?
Yeah,
I think I already
that was
knew
a while ago. Yeah. I remember with you didn't even want to do it because you're like, I'm not writing a packet for that. And then you didn't. I was like, I'll write a packet for it. I got nothing else going on. That's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if there's anything exciting with me, but no. The excitement was having you on my podcast, Dan.
Oh, you're too sweet. Thank you.
No, I'm not. Is there anything you want to promote? Are you going to any colleges anytime soon?
No.
Are you are you doing the meltdown? Where are you going up?
No, I don't have anything booked right now.
You don't have any social media. Dan, you are a fucking ghost. Is there like
I guess I could promote
Bob's Burgers convention.
The Bob's Burgers. Well, the Awesomes, I think all their episodes aired. If they haven't, then you could watch. Oh, that's on Hulu.
That's on Hulu. So is that Hulu or
that
Hulu
is
Plus?
on Hulu. I don't know.
Okay, so whichever one.
And that is Seth Meyers created a show. It's really funny. The superhero show with everyone that's ever been on SNL.
Bobby Lee,
and Mad TV.
Yeah.
He. I'm trying to think if I should tell a story about when Bobby Lee came to the recording.
Yes, you should. Bobby Lee stories are always awesome.
No, because I'm sure he's
Bobby.
Yeah.
Trust me, you can't tell any story crazier than the ones Bobby's already told on this very podcast.
Well, it was just, there's not much of a story, but he just like came in late and
that's Bobby.
Was just very flattered. He's like, sorry I'm late. I just got a girl pregnant. And then everyone thought he was joking, and then they kind of waited, and he kept going on about it, like, oh, he's not joking.
That's Bobby Lee. You're like, what in the world, man? Yeah. So that's kind of, Bobby basically went through what you went through.
Yeah.
Only when he went through the emotions, I guess he wasn't like, I am ready for a kid.
Yeah.
He had a different end. Well, that was a great story in a weird Bobby Lee kind of way. Okay, Dan, thank you so much. Dan Mintz, check him out in the, if you have an old Harvard Lampoon yearbook or something. What was your issue called?
Broken Heart.
Broken Heart.
Everything was called like the blank number.
Okay.
So mine was called, I think, the Broken Heart number. Is that right? I don't remember. Something like that.
The Broken Heart number.
I think so. Maybe I'm confused, but Broken Heart something.
Okay. I will, we'll try to look for it. So that's what we're promoting, a 20-year-old college comedy thing. I think it's probably pretty good. Okay. Thank you. Bye. That was Dan Mintz. He's too good for social media. Check me out on Twitter at @thisDavidTaylor. I'm David Taylor, and this has been Until I Lose Interest.